today's show. I wanted to do a video on Colonel Michael Aquino. Most of you are familiar with who he is, but I actually don't have a video up on my channel about him. And I have been doing research on the Presidio accusation / case where 60 children came forward at a military compound, a military base daycare center, with some of the most disturbing accusations you will ever hear. That video is exclusively on my website at callforAnuprising.com because it cannot be discussed here due to how graphic it is and due to what they will allow you to talk about and not talk about here on YouTube. So if you're not a subscriber, become a subscriber. That's the kind of content you're going to get over there. It is a very detailed video about it, with detailed accusations. And of course, it all links back to Satanism, right? But this video, I'm going to focus on Michael Aquino and the military's involvement, and obviously how the military is just used as another front. That does not mean people you know or family members or you yourself are in the military that you're a Satanist. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is military operations are usually carried out with Central Intelligence that obviously are doing all sorts of shady business. But I want you to get familiar with Michael Aquino and the accusations that just happen to come against the guy who just happens to be a Satanist. This is him on the Geraldo Rivera show. I've edited out some of the parts about the Presidio case, but that again will be available on the website. So take a look. This is Michael Aquino. Yes, the Eddie Munster looking fella. Guy is rolling in here looking like Eddie Munster from the Munsters. Know what I mean? Take a look.
I think that there is some confusion tonight because this same term means something different to Satanists than it does to Christians in the United States. By our own standards, the people who you've shown in these film clips would not be Satanists, either present or in the past. Rather, they would be the failures of a conventional religion.
I appreciate your opinion. What is it, sir, then? What is Satanism?
Well, originally, the Church of Satan, when it was founded, was composed not of people with a hatred for Christianity, but of people who, by and large, were agnostics and atheists, because they felt that the institutions which had arisen around Christianity had failed in their moral commitment. So Satanism itself became an emphasis on rational self-interest and on taking responsibility for your own intellectual and ethical decisions.
Cleared. Would you like to comment on why those charges were brought against you?
Well, the entire time that the so-called child molestation scandal was occurring at the Presidio, the time period when these terrible events were supposedly taking place, I was assigned to the National Defense University in Washington, D.C., and my wife was out there living with me.
But is it not a fact that a 3.5-year-old girl identified you as the alleged perpetrator of molestation?
No, as a matter of fact, it is not the case. An accusation was made by her stepfather, who is an Army chaplain, speaking on behalf of this child. In her original interview with the FBI, she denied ever being molested.
Well, I've seen you are innocent until proven guilty. You were never charged in this case. I don't want to belabor the point. I have seen, however, the affidavits for the search warrant of your home, and they indicate the child is speaking to the authorities, not her father.
This was after she had been subjected to therapy.
Let's say you are innocent of that. You are no longer at the Presidio. You are now in St. Louis, but you are still a serving officer or colonel in the United States Army. Do you feel it is inconsistent with a high-ranking officer pledged, sworn, to uphold the Constitution of the United States that you are also a practicing Satanist?
Not in the least. The Army has known of my religion for the last 20 years. There has never been a problem with it, any more than there's a problem with other members of minority religions.
But let me read from the Satanic Bible. Quote, this is the number one, commandment. Death to the weakling, wealth to the strong. How can you believe this and still uphold the Constitution of the United States? Death to the weakling?
Well, for one thing, what you're looking at there is a highly polemical book that was never meant to be taken literally in all of its dimensions. Yes, and I'm aware of that, and I'm also saying that members of the Church of Satan understood that much of this book was in the form of a polemic. It was a statement that was dramatically made, but was not intended to be taken literally in all its respects.
So we should not take this book literally?
Correct.
This is Dr. Walter Grote. Would you stand, sir? whose daughter was allegedly abused at West Point, the United States Military Academy. You were a captain in the United States Army. Aside from what allegedly happened to your daughter, which I know you allege was part of a satanic cult and having nothing to do with this man, I state again for the record, what is your feeling, sir, on the fact that a serving officer in the United States Army is also a professed Satanist, a high-ranking person?
Well, I think in this election year, we've heard a lot about values, Geraldo. We've heard a lot that our little children should be saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. Aquino has identified himself as an antichrist. He preaches that as the leader of the Temple said. I don't think I'm misquoting him. I find it inconceivable that we can have candidates talking about one nation under God and having our children say that, yet by the same token, we can have somebody in our army as a colonel leading our troops in battle who are opposed to the very concept of God and whose whole purpose it is to fight against God.
We have to take a break right here. Next, more on the connection between Satanism and violence, including more charges of the sexual abuse of children. If you have let your kids watch up until now, we urge you, ladies and gentlemen, we are not kidding. Get them away from the TV during our next report. We'll be right back.
Now, obviously, I mean, you can see how much the world has changed, right? Since that Geraldo show, just mentioning satanic ritual, abuse and all that stuff is not allowed anymore. It's not something they ever talk about. Just all these things came forward in the 80s where children, parents were finding things out about their kids. All these kids were coming forward at once. They had to create this psyop called the Satanic Panic. And people just think that all of these thousands of children in all these different circumstances, all revolving around daycare centers or kindergarten schools, all these kids just made up stories where they're being taken away to different locations, Satanism, drinking of blood, animal sacrifice, all that stuff, but they're just making it up. So I just want to show you some of the stuff that Aquino has been linked to. Aquino began in the military in Vietnam, taking part in the Phoenix program. The Phoenix program was an assassination torture operation, of course, initiated by Central Intelligence, which we're supposed to believe are a bunch of heroes and God-fearing Americans who love their country. And in reality, the CIA is just doing everything they can to destroy us as a species here and destroy Christianity, and of course, doing it in the name of protecting us and being an intelligence agency. Okay, so the aim of the Phoenix program was to neutralize civilian infrastructure. This was something that he started out being involved in. He even, in 1980, according to a sworn testimony given before the U.S. Senate, MK Ultra mind control victim Kathy O'Brien, I'm sure most of you are familiar with her, claimed that she was programmed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky in 1980 by Michael Aquino of the U.S. Army. She stated Aquino used barbaric trauma techniques on both her daughter, Kelly, and herself that involved NASA technology. O'Brien claimed she was a presidential model monarch slave, meaning that she specifically programmed to cater to the sexual perversions of the highest-ranking politicians in the United States of America. And if you've listened to her testimonies before, her speeches, she goes into great graphic, disgusting detail about Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Dick Cheney, all these household names that you know about just happen to be linked to this stuff, right? We're supposed to believe that we're voting these people into power. What a joke. In 1982, Johnny Gosch, 12-year-old at the time, was abducted from a shopping mall in West Des Moines, Iowa, while doing his early morning paper route. Years later, during an interview with Ted Gunderson, Paul Benaki revealed that as a child he was directly involved in Gosch's abduction, having acted as a lure to draw Gosch into the hands of his abductors. According to Benaki, the abduction was ordered by Michael Aquino, who later picked Gosch up at a farmhouse he was being held at and delivered him to a buyer in Colorado. 1985, allegations of ritual abuse at the Jubilation Daycare Center at Fort Bragg erupted when several children reported being abused by a number of people at the daycare center and several other locations, including 2 churches. Aquino was identified as having been present at one of those locations in 1986. Allegations, this is where the Presidio Child Development Center in San Francisco, allegations came forward, where 60 people, and this is what I'll be talking about in detail on my website, 60 children came forward from the ages of 3 to 7. I mean, that's so disturbingly sick. And it's always what? The stories are always about how it's linked to Satanism, and then they always just bury it. And they say, oh, people are just judging me because I'm a Satanist. Both Aquino and his wife Lilith were positively identified by the victims. At least one victim was able to positively identify Aquino's home and describe the accuracy and the distinctively satanic interior of the house. Only one person was ever charged. And that, again, I'll go into on the website. It's definitely worth hearing because most people don't know about it. Most people are only familiar with McMartin and some of the other cases that have come forward. And, of course, what a coincidence, another one where there's not one person, 60 people, 60 children, and it gets dismissed. What a surprise, right? In 87... this continued on with allegations against the U.S. Army. In 88 is when we had the Franklin cover-up, which involved the Franklin Credit Union. So another one of these huge trafficking, just disgusting, disturbing situations. I'm trying to word it properly so I don't get, penalized here on YouTube, but which was run by Lawrence King. If you haven't heard this story, I've covered it before, the Franklin cover-up. I believe they've taken those videos down. I'm not positive. There might be one or two on here. Where, that's where that article, that infamous article from the Washington, I believe it was the Washington Post or the Washington Times, where, the call boy service going to the White House with Reagan and Bush. But anyway, in this entire thing, this, separate from Presidio, separate from these other ones, of course, Aquino's been identified again. I mean, and then he said, he's like, it's just because I'm a Satanist, people just keep picking on me. Right. I mean, this is happening all the time. We all just get accused from many, many people, many kids who wouldn't even know how to lie if they were taught how to lie because they're just children. They're 3 years old, 4 years old. They can't even comprehend what's going on, and they're discussing these things. So he was identified by specific victims, including in 1999, Paul Benacchi, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, I always mess up this guy's name, who had been kept as a slave by Lawrence King, positively identified Aquino as an associate of King. He said he was known to the children only as the Colonel. In 89, Aquino again was questioned in connection with more abuse allegations. This time, 5 kids came forward in 3 cities making accusations. The children had seen Aquino in newspaper, television coverage of the Presidio case and immediately recognized him as one of the abusers. The children were from Santa Rosa, Fort Bragg, and Ukiah. I'm definitely not saying that right because I've never heard of the place. But in 1990, Aquino was processed out of the Army after being investigated for satanic ritual abuse in the Presidio case. In 92, more. Just all you do is go through this guy's, the stuff on this guy, and it's just accusation after accusation, and completely protected, right? So this is like pre-internet. This is pre-cell phone texting, and they claim it's this huge conspiracy against him. That's what he claims, and that's what the Satanists claim with the Satanic Panic. Like all these kids from different states, they all just made it up, and then they say, oh well, they were influenced by some of the stuff they saw on TV. Oh, I thought we weren't influenced by the television. Now we are influenced by the television, right? And the kids would just make it up. Other cases, other things have come up since then in the 90s. In 99, a hearing was held in the matter of the Paul Benacchi versus Lawrence King civil action. Benacchi charged that he had been ritualistically abused by King as part of a nationwide ring that was linked to powerful political figures in Washington and the elements of U.S. military and intelligence agencies. During the hearing, Noreen Gosch, whose 12-year-old son Johnny had been abducted in 92, provided the court with sworn testimony linking Aquino to the nationwide ring. She stated, well then, there was a man by the name of Michael Aquino. He was in the military. He had top Pentagon clearances. He was a Satanist. He's founded the Temple of Set, and he was a close friend of LaVey. The two of them were very active in ritualistic abuse, and they deferred funding from this government program to use this experimentation on children, where they deliberately split off the personalities of these children into multiples, so that when they're questioned or put under oath or questioned under a lie detector, that unless the operator knows how to question a multiple personality disorder, they turn up with no evidence. They use these kids to compromise politicians or anyone else they wish to have control of. This sounds so far out and so bizarre, I had trouble accepting it in the beginning myself until I was presented with the data. We have the proof in black and white. Paul Bonacci, who was a victim of this ring, subsequently identified Aquino as the man who ordered the kidnapping of Gosh 3 weeks after the hearing. Judge Warren K. Urbam ordered King to pay $1 million in damages. So, a guy who, here we have a guy who's high-ranking clearance in the Pentagon, what do you think that these people are involved? How do you think they get away with this? This giant networking system that revolves around children. And this isn't just about their lust. That's the thing that people need to understand. For these children, it's about the rituals and the magic and the sorcery and the power they wield through doing these disgusting acts that Crowley taught. So they always will mention LaVey, but they'll never mention Crowley, of course. But that's really the root of it. So I just want to make everybody familiar with Aquino if you weren't. Again, the video on the Presidio case is up on the website, so check it out if you haven't already. Consider becoming a subscriber. I want to thank everyone out there who's a patron to this YouTube channel. Because of you, I'm continuing my work here on YouTube, so anybody out there who is one, thank you. If you haven't, if you don't want to join the website and you just want to stay on YouTube, please consider becoming a patron. And I'll continue doing the best I can to get work out there here on YouTube as well as on the website. But remember, it's a lot more censored here. There's certain stuff that can't be discussed, and it can only be discussed on the website because of the absolute ridiculous censorship. So thank you to the patrons. It's you who makes it possible to keep YouTube going. And thank you to the people who have signed up already for the website. Hopefully you'll see more people over there as I try to continue to build it out. So thanks again. God bless all of you. Keep these kids in your prayers because this stuff is still going on, folks. It's going on all over the place. This isn't just isolated incidences. This is rampant. So keep these kids, all children, in your prayers. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.
We gotta help people customize and save!
Man dreamed of one day making the ultimate journey. Flight. The journey to the heavens. Early pioneers from China and Renaissance Europe developed extraordinary flying machines. But according to history, flight itself remained only a distant fantasy until the Wright brothers in 1903. Now, new evidence is threatening to completely rewrite the story of how mankind learned to fly. All across South America, from the desert plains of Peru to the jungle kingdoms of the Amazon, the native South Americans have depicted nature for centuries. We discover the secrets of their culture through stunning murals, pottery, and artifacts. In 1965, deep in the dense Colombian rainforest, a team of explorers made an intriguing discovery. Almost 1,000 years ago, an ancient people known as the Cumbayan forged these beautiful brooches from gold and copper alloy. At first glance, they appear to be the models of small winged insects, but a second look reveals that there is something highly unusual about these objects. Their design carries anomalies found in no air-breathing creatures in the natural world.
Normally you find it only with fishes, but no animal anywhere has vertical fins. They actually have wings, but of course not on the